union or a sequel if it's good. Tell me about this one, though. How did this deal come together?
Nicole, Chris Paul really wanted to be back playing near the Los Angeles area. That's where his family resides. That's where he felt like he wanted to end his career potentially, his 21st and final NBA career. And the Clippers, on the other hand, they needed a reserve guard. They needed a point guard coming off the bench. And that's what Chris Paul is going to be. He had multiple suitors, the Bucks, Mavericks, Hornets, I'm told. But the chance to join a contender in LA, the history that this organization has had with Chris Paul, he's got in his 6 seasons, 5 All-NBA teams. That's the most in franchise history. And so there's a lot of lineage there with Chris Paul as part of the Clippers. And so he's expected to play one more NBA season and retire after the 2025-26 season. He gets to go and stay in Los Angeles near his family for that storybook ending.
Sort of a dream scenario in a lot of ways. You sort of touched on it also a minute. You said the reserve guard situation, because obviously James Harden is entrenched there as the starter. How else does the rest of this roster look?
Nicole, Chris Paul very much understood his role throughout this process as he was talking to Lawrence Frank in that Clippers organization and Ty Lue, the head coach. On some nights, he could start. He could come off the bench as a sixth man. He could be the backup to James Harden. On other nights, he's a true plug-and-play player at this point in his career. They could also manage his minutes. But Nicole, there are also going to be nights where Chris Paul is a DNP ED, did not play coach's decision. And that's what the Clippers, Chris Paul, they're moving forward with. He's fully bought in. This is a very deep, veteran-laden Clippers team now with Bradley Beal in the mix, John Collins in the mix. So this is a Clippers team that everyone has to have their priorities in order, and that starts with players like James Harden and Kawhi Leonard and extends to guys like Bradley Beal last week and Chris Paul this week.
Look, with breaking news from the NBA, because Chris Paul is heading back to Los Angeles, the veteran point guard agreeing to return to the Clippers for what is expected to be his final season. CP3 previously spent 6 years with the Clippers, leading the team to its most successful stretch in franchise history. Paul ranks second in NBA history in both assists and steals. He played last season, if you remember, with the Spurs. So including the signing of the veteran and Chris Paul, it's been a very busy offseason for the Clippers. LA also signed free agents Bradley Beal, Brook Lopez, and acquired John Collins in a 3-team trade. The Clippers also re-signed star James Harden to a 2-year deal worth $81.5 million. Let's say hello to NBA analyst Kendrick Perkins, who's with us now here on SportsCenter. And Perk, give me your reaction to Chris Paul joining the Clippers.
Well, one, Shay, is not breaking news. It's just NBA news, right? Chris Paul
Dog days of summer here, Perk. We're doing what we can, you know?
Right. Right. Chris Paul signs with the Clippers on the vet minimum. Solid pickup for the Clippers as far as him coming in and being a backup point guard. He's one of the greatest floor generals to ever do it. Now you add him to this veteran roster that's going to compete at the highest level, well-coached team. They have a lot of good pieces on this team. And they're gonna be in the thick of things. They're gonna be a top 8 team in the Western Conference. But we know what CP3 brings to the locker room, an extension of Ty Lue, his leadership, being able to play off the ball. We saw his stint in Golden State playing alongside Steph Curry. And so, yes, they do have a nice veteran roster, but they still have a lot of questions.
Nice veteran roster with a lot of ages that start with the number 3 and now one that start with the number 4. I'm just going to point that out. Obviously, as you see on that full screen, the Clippers made a bunch of additions this offseason. We just talked about it. ESPN Bet had their title odds at 33-1 when the season ended. Now they're at 16-1 now, though. How do you view the Clippers in the conversation of maybe championship contenders?
I don't. This is an old folks' home right now, nursing home, in my opinion. When you look at them, when you look at the league, everybody is getting young at the wing position. That's the most important position in the NBA when it comes down to be able to defend at a high level. I understand going to get Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, you got James Harden. But again, those guys are great when it comes down to being offensively good. But defensively, you're going to have to get stops, especially in the stacked Western Conference when you got elite perimeter play all across the board. And so when I look at the teams that I feel like are better than them, the Rockets, the Thunder, the Nuggets, even the Lakers right now with the additions that they added. I just see this team having a really good regular season and being a tough out in the postseason, but not legit title contenders in my eyes.
When you mentioned the team that just won the championship in the Thunder and a team like the Rockets, I mean, outside of Kevin Durant, these are two very, very young squads. Very different, I guess I'll say.
It's always good to have you in studio, my friend. Brian, I am going to start with you here and talk about the fit. We're looking at an incredibly deep, if not a little bit of an older Los Angeles Clippers team. How do you see CP3 slotting in here?
Well, this is a great value signing for the Clippers. They get a first ballot Hall of Famer, really for a bargain basement contract, because he was prioritizing staying home in Los Angeles ahead of playing time and role. He could have gone to Milwaukee, as Shams mentioned, and gotten more guaranteed playing time. That's not going to be the case here. From what I understand, he's not going to have guaranteed playing time. There are going to be nights where James Harden and their backup Chris Dunn get the minutes at point guard, and Chris Paul might not play at all, which is something you've never seen from him before. He has understood that. He understands that he is going to be in that spot that he hasn't. He wants to be on a competitive team in the market he wants to play in near his family. And, look, there had to be an understanding with James Harden. He and James Harden didn't have the greatest relationship when they were in Houston a few years ago, but Harden is on board with this signing. They went to him with it first. He understands that he played the 5th most minutes in the league last year, and anything the Clippers can do to support and protect him is welcomed, and that's what this move is.
Okay, you said a whole lot of important stuff right there, Brian. And in fact, I'm most interested, Perk, in the thought that a guy who started in 82 games last season is okay with his role now be coming off of the bench. Do you think from a basketball perspective, because for his family, I am so very happy for Jada and the whole crew that Chris Paul is closer to home here. From a basketball perspective, is this the right fit for his final season?
Congratulations to Steve Ballmer and the Los Angeles Clippers. They have officially become the nursing home for the NBA for the players that are on the back end of their career. No, I'm serious, because if we think that this is about to move the needle for the Clippers as far as being a competitor, not just a title contender, but competing in the tough Western Conference, it's not. And I get it. Chris Paul, he brings great value, whether he's playing or whether he's on the bench being an extension of Ty Lue. But when I look at their roster, I look at a guy like Dunn. Yes, he's a guy that could defend at a high level, but the Clippers look old. And they still, to me, have a problem at their wing position when it comes down to depth from guys that can compete and play at a high level on the defensive side of things. Offensively, they got enough to put up points. They're going to have a good regular season. But when it comes down to them competing in the Western Conference, especially when they get postseason time, can they compete with the likes of a Houston, OKC, Denver, even the Lakers now? I just don't see it.
Look, I mean, this team, it goes as Kawhi Leonard goes, right? Ultimately, how healthy is Kawhi Leonard? That is going to dictate what the Los Angeles Clippers are able to do. Because if we were talking about 2017 and looking at all of these guys on this roster, this would be a formidable group. But this is a little bit of an older group that we're looking at now. Bobby, can you just show us what this rotation could look like for the Los Angeles Clippers? Because I'm a little more intrigued than Perk is, I think.
Well, it's certainly deep here, Malik, and this is with John Collins and Bradley Beal. It's bigger when you have Collins and Ivica Zubac together. I think the most important thing is to focus on this column here. When you look at all the Chris Paul, certainly Chris Dunn, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Nick Batum, Derek Jones Jr., Brook Lopez. Here's the one thing with the Clips that's interesting. I'm going to contradict Perk a little bit here. Age is just a number, right? It's just a number. Yes, they are the most seasoned, I won't call them older team. 8 players, 30 years or older. Now, here's the one thing. This is for better or for worse right here. Their bench, the players that we just mentioned, 287 games started. So it's a good problem, but it could also be a bad problem because if you're looking at Ty Lue, how do you balance minutes, right? That's going to be the most important thing. I think it's the most, this is going to be probably the most challenging for Ty Lue because it's going to have to be buy-in. Everybody's going to have to buy in, especially for that bench that they have a lot of starters.
When you're looking at a group, we'll call it seasoned, a seasoned roster. You don't want anyone to get over-salted and become salty. When you look at that many starters, you don't, starting minutes and starting games, there's going to be a lot of big personalities here to manage. But if anyone can do it, I do believe that it is Ty Lue. Perk, we were talking on our production call before the show, and you said that you had a grade for the Clippers offseason that you wanted to share with America. What is that and why?
Well, I would give them a C, to be honest with you, because, again, while other teams around the league, you're watching them because Oklahoma City has set the bar for us needing the youth. You're watching them, and they've added Bradley Beal, who over the last 4 or 5 years had played over 60 games one time in his career. So he has an injury history. We know what Kawhi Leonard has. I'm a huge fan of Big Zubac. We know what he could bring to the table. But James Harden has a history also of folding like clean sheets when it comes down to the postseason. So again, I get it. You get Bradley Beal at a bargain on a 2-year, $11 million deal, but we haven't seen the best version of Bradley Beal in quite some time. And I don't know if he could just turn it on, and I don't think others around the league care if he turned it on. And to be honest, if I had to give them would they rank in the state of California for as off seasons, or would they rank for as teams, I would have them third on the list behind the Lakers and Golden State right now.
Behind Golden State, who hasn't really done much of anything here, Brian?
They don't have to.
Kaminga might disagree.
It's July, man. I mean, what are we doing? They had what, about $17 or $18 million to spend, and they got Brook Lopez, Bradley Beal, and Chris Paul, 3 guys who were full-time Well, Bradley Beal lost his starting job for about 6 weeks, but were starters in the league last year that Bobby talked about. They're all going to be backups now, and they got them at discount prices. It's one thing to pay a starter's money to be a backup. It's another thing to pay a starter backup's money to be a backup. I agree, Perk. The Oklahoma City Thunder are not raising their eyebrows from their lounge chairs right now. But this team got better. I don't know where they would rank in the Western, in California, because the Lakers did some similar things with their exception money. But I think the Clippers did a good job of building out their depth. And look, if they had given these guys in their mid to late 30s 2- and 3-year contracts, I would be a little concerned. They're all 1-year deals. They can opt out next year. Their salary cap is flexible. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the Clippers are going to go as far as a healthy Kawhi Leonard takes them. They need to support Kawhi Leonard and support James Harden, and that's what they've done with these signings.
I get it, Wendy, but we still have to start moving on, because we're living in the past of what those guys did in the past and not what they've been providing in the present. When you talk about the addition of a Brook Lopez, I get it, backup center, a guy that can stretch the floor, but he's also a guy that was getting cooked last year in the pick and roll in the drop coverage. He's not the best defender that he used to be. Same with a guy like Bradley Beal. Nicholas Batum is kind of old as hell, although he does come in and do a lot of the little things. I'm just looking at the direction of the direction of the league, and I'm looking at a team like the Houston Rockets, who got great depth at the wing position along with youth, and I'm just looking at it. It's just not moving me what the Clippers are doing.
I'm thankful Perk wasn't my teacher at Marist College, because I would have never graded with that grade that he gave them as a C. I would say this: they did enough this offseason to keep themselves in contention as a top 8 team in the Western Conference. Not number 1, but certainly where Houston and Denver and Dallas and Minnesota, some of these other teams, they've done enough to keep themselves in the mix.
The thing that I keep coming back to is our friend Brian Windhorst, as I have bobblehead Brian Windhorst here to show you. I keep thinking of Brian Windhorst saying, value contracts, value contracts, value contracts, right? Like it's the value that you're getting these guys on. It's not like you're getting these guys on max deals anymore. And I do think we need to take that into consideration. Can I just tell you guys, though, I'm excited. I'm excited to see Chris Paul back in a Clippers uniform as a basketball fan. I'm kind of excited by the idea of seeing Damian Lillard, even a season away, back in a Portland Trailblazers uniform. The Denver Nuggets got good this offseason. The Clippers go in and they get a backup center in Brook Lopez. Like, this is what excites me, Bobby, as a basketball fan.
I wrote 8 teams down in the top. I think we can make an argument for 8 teams right now, and that doesn't include San Antonio, New Orleans, Phoenix, teams like that.
And how many of those 8 are in the Western Conference?
Oh, no, these are all in the 8. These are my 8 Western Conference teams.
I was going to say, the top teams, the Western Conference is formidable. Still to come on it. After the Lakers, 3-time all-defense first-team member Marcus Smart will don the purple and gold this season. Smart plans to sign a 2-year, $11 million deal with the Lakers after finalizing a buyout with the Washington Wizards. The 2022 Defensive Player of the Year chose Los Angeles over interest from the Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks here. Let's bring back our senior insider, Shams Charania. Shams, how did this deal come together?
Marcus Smart wanted to be back in championship contention mode. His first 9 seasons in the NBA, the rival Boston Celtics, the rival of the Lakers. He made it to the playoffs, competed deep, in multiple runs there for 9 consecutive seasons. Then he missed the playoffs. The last 2 years, I'm told he's been working hard on his body this offseason to return to the form in 2022 when he won the Defensive Player of the Year award. And so once he got permission from the Wizards to speak to the Lakers, Bucks, and Suns, his attention turned toward the Lakers. It was a close race. I'm told one thing that was instrumental in all this was Luka Doncic. He called Marcus Smart directly multiple times last week, told him how much he wants to play with him in Los Angeles. And so it was a close race. It came down to opportunity, some financial components involved in this as well, but they view Marcus Smart kind of as that Dorian Finney-Smith replacement, as the point of attack defender for JJ Redick. And so you look at that right there. Marcus Smart joined Jake LaRavia and DeAndre Ayton as additions. And Luka Doncic played a role not only with Marcus Smart, but also with the signing of DeAndre Ayton. This team obviously has made some shifts this offseason.
And that's a little bit of a different role for Luka. It's not that he hasn't been a leader around locker rooms in the past, but making those sorts of phone calls is not something I remember hearing as much of in previous seasons. That's really interesting insight, Shams. Thank you so very much. Shams mentioned it. It's been a little bit of a different role for Marcus Smart lately. He's played a combined 54 games the last 2 seasons. He's been under 50 games played in 3 of the last 5 seasons. As you can see right here, a steep departure from his time with the Boston Celtics. Perk, you know him well from your time with Boston, around Boston. How do you see him impacting this Los Angeles Lakers team?
Oh, hell of a pickup for the Lakers. Look, the Lakers they haven't had a defender like Marcus Smart on the perimeter since Alex Caruso. And I understand, like, the last 2 seasons we haven't seen the best version of Marcus Smart, but let's keep it real. He's been playing for no reason. Now, when you get back to what Sean's alluded to, being in on that title team and playing for something at the age of 31, Marcus Smart is going to be the best version of himself. I had a point in my career before I was on legit title contenders, where a team where we lost 18 games in a row. And I walked into the arena, I walked into the practice facility, and I lived my life every single day knowing that we were going to get our ass kicked. But once the tables was turned and we made a trade for Kevin Garnett, we made a trade for Ray Allen, and we became legit title contenders, my mindset changed, and all of a sudden it got more professional off the court. But they got the best version of Kendrick Perkins on the court. We're going to see that with Marcus Smart in the Los Angeles Lakers.
And we've certainly seen that from Marcus Smart in past years with the Boston Celtics. It's the last couple of seasons that have been a little bit of a drought. I got to say, I underestimated the amount of Boston Celtics fans that still pour so much into that Lakers-Celtics rivalry that say, hey, we don't want to, no, Marcus Smart, we're not going to root for him anymore now that he's with the Los Angeles Lakers. And it was partly, as Shams is reporting, Luka Doncic, who picked up the phone and said, Marcus, come here to Los Angeles. Brian, what do you make of that?
Well, first off, I think you know what I'm going to say, Malika. Value. This is a key signing for value. They got him for the biannual exception. He took the buyout and is now coming at age 31 to play for the Lakers for less than his normal salary is going to be, with high motivation. But the thing that's interesting to me about the Luka recruitment was that he is definitely on the same page as the Lakers front office. I think it's key what Shams described, and I checked this out too. The phone calls. Look, I can send somebody a text and say, hey, it would be kind of cool for you to hang out with me next year, and put the phone down. The multiple phone calls while Luka was overseas, after obviously communicating with the Lakers front office saying, hey, we can get Marcus Smart, there's competition for him, can you reach out to him? To me, that's really important if you're a Laker fan. Luka working side by side with the front office, spending time, working on being on the same page. The reason that's important, Luka, I'll say it again as well, Luka has a contract extension option coming starting as recently as August 2nd. And anything that the Lakers do with their bench positions or anything like that, all of it, even LeBron's contract and his option, It's all secondary to getting number 77 into a long-term deal. And if he is working hand in hand with the front office on acquiring players and recruiting players, that's a very good sign about where he's looking at going forward.
Whenever Windy gets on the Windy soapbox, I'm just gonna start having my little Windy, making sure we underscore it. By the way, I'm gonna try not to take any offense to the fact that you only text me when you want to hang out. I've never gotten multiple phone calls from you, Brian. I have gotten multiple phone calls from Bobby. Bobby, all these new pieces in the Lakers lineup, how do they fit together?
Well, I think the biggest question was backcourt depth. We talked about it early in free agency, and I think with Marcus Smart, it's a lot of interchangeable lineups there. Certainly you can put him in there for Austin Reeves. They went out and got DeAndre Ayton, as we talked about Jake LaRavia. Here's where we're looking at. It's okay with hitting doubles in free agency. Everybody talks about hitting a home run. $19 million, Brian Windhorst value, right? Ayton, Smart, and LaRavia for one season here. Two of them are on buyout. Of course, we are going to be waiting on Luka. 4 years, $222 million. And I know a lot of Laker fans hit me up last night and they said, can we go out and get a 15th player? You cannot right now because of where you are under the first apron. You're $1 million below. Jordan Goodwin, who was waived as part of this, you cannot sign him on a two-way contract because he has 4 years of service. Certainly a loss, but when you look at it,